When the state of Indiana found out its most prolific abortion doctor had kept more than 2,000 fetal remains at his home, many were shocked and speechless. In our series, Disturbing Discovery, we're uncovering the impact of Ulrich Klopfer and how to make sure something like this never happens again. Wayne 15's Kaitor K spoke with lawmakers who are desperately seeking a solution.
Klopfer got in a lot of public trouble while he was alive. The State Medical Licensing Board and Health Department took a slew of disciplinary action against him, but had no idea about his fetal remains collection. Now, lawmakers are figuring out how to improve abortion clinic oversight.
I do not want someone else to go through what I have gone through. To see their abortionist on TV 20 years later and wonder if one of those babies sitting in a cardboard box in a garage is theirs. That is an ugly, ugly position to be in.
The call to action is out to make sure the likes of abortion doctor Ulrich Klopfer never practice again. Former patients, doctors, and lawmakers appalled by the dark secret he took to his grave.
And taking 2,200 some remains of babies home and putting them in his garage, that doesn't compute. It doesn't make sense, which places him in the category of a psychopath.
That's just not okay. You don't keep something like that. It's disturbing.
I mean, it's unbelievable. It's probably one of the most disgusting, horrifying things we've heard about recently.
How does that happen? Who's in charge of this? Who does the inspections? Who does the checks and balance system?
Spearheading the investigation is Indiana Attorney General Curtis Hill.
This is not a situation that has occurred before, and it's our responsibility to get it right.
We sat down with him at the State House to find out what he's discovered. They still don't know why Klopfer did it. We asked, will there be any justice?
Justice in the sense that somebody has to pay a price, well, that's a little late for Dr. Klopfer.
But the employees associated with Klopfer could possibly face consequences. Hill has to determine what their involvement with the fetus collection was first. He'll also have to consider what laws were in place at the time when Klopfer took the fetuses from his clinics in Indiana to his home in Illinois from 2000 to 2002.
It's a long time ago in terms of when these things took place, and I don't want anyone to have any unrealistic expectations of who's going to be held accountable.
Hill says they're carefully establishing a framework of all that happened and how.
Keep in mind that he did lose his license 3 years ago as a result of a litany of regulations that he had violated.
Indiana had already taken its stance on what abortion providers could do with fetal remains. In 2016, state lawmakers passed House Enrolled Act 1337, which requires providers to bury or cremate the remains. Keeping them without intent of burial or throwing them out as medical waste became a level 5 felony. Because of an injunction, HEA 1337 wasn't allowed to be enforced until September 2019. It actually became enforceable the same day that Klopfer died. But the law was put into place for reasons unrelated to him, 3 years before his fetal collection was discovered. State Senator Liz Brown says learning about his secret only made the Indiana State Department of Health more serious about carrying out the law once it was enforceable.
I was so happy that the State Department of Health is all ready to hit the ground running implementing this law. They appreciate the gravity of the situation, and particularly in light of the fact of finding over 2,000 babies' remains in Dr. Klopfer, the abortion doctor's home, and in his car. We know that we can assure everyone that these babies going forward will be buried with dignity.
Under HEA 1337, ISDH is making abortion providers account for every disposed fetus through a burial transit permit. They're required to fill out this permit for every set of fetuses they give to a funeral home or crematorium. This list of fetuses to be buried is proof that the transfer was made. The funeral home or crematorium is then required to sign the permit. ISDH is also requiring that providers have patients sign a disposition for fetal remains form, which gives the patients their 2 fetal disposal rights.
So they will receive that from the abortion clinic, and it will state very specifically, I understand that the clinic will bury my baby's remains in a dignified manner, and or I have the choice instead to choose where I would like those remains to go.
None of Indiana's abortion clinics responded to Wayne 15's request for an interview, but Brown Trust ISDH has made it clear to all of them the expectations going forward. No more Klopfers who take home fetuses.
To make sure, absolutely, that people like him can never exist and practice in Indiana.
With so much new oversight in place, state lawmakers don't expect fetal disposal laws to be broken again.
The Department of Health has crossed T's, dotted I's. They've got all the forms in place. They've reached out to the healthcare providers. They've notified the abortion clinics. They've talked to funeral homes. So I am very confident. If something slips through the cracks, which I don't anticipate it happening, I know my fellow legislators will report to the Department of Health right away, and I am assured that they will act on that.
Both of Indiana's U.S. senators and a couple of its U.S. representatives want to take Indiana's fetal disposal laws to the national level. They've introduced the Dignity for Aborted Children Act to the House and Senate in hopes of making sure something like Klopfer's fetal remains collection never happens again, anywhere in this country. Kaitor K, Wayne 15 News.